Good evening to all. Till now, only five people have joined, so I will start. Your today's subject is social geography. Social geography have a four block number one, two, three, and four. In block number one, there are four units. Unit one, evolution and approaches to social geography. Then unit two is place and relevance of social geography. Unit third is your key concept in social geography. Unit fourth is your method in social geography. Have you have a soft copy material in you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Then similar to block number two, there are four units, and block number three, there are another four units, and block four also four units. So total your unit 16, block one, two, three, four. Okay, total is your 16 unit in social geography. So today I will start with block number one, unit one to four. Your Monday class, I will take 2 p.m., not in 4, 2 to 4, Monday class. 3rd March, on 3rd March, Monday, I will take your class at 2.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay? Any problem, any issue? I think your school timing is over around 1. So I will take your class on Monday, 2 to 4. Okay, first I will start with your unit one, that is evolution and approaches to social geography. In that, we have studied about what do you mean by social geography and what are the nature and scope, then how the evolutions of social geography and what are the approaches to social geography. That's it. Okay, first we will teach about what is social geography. Basically, we know that socials means which is related to our society, and geography means it's a peripheral area. Okay, so there are several authors who have discussed about what is social geography. So basically, the term socials can have various meanings, which is depending on the context in which it is used. Social is connected with the society and the way it is organized. What society? What society means also remained work curiously taken from granted and unauthorized. There are some several scholars which define the term social. It is apart from economy, politics, culture, such that the socials become a distinctive label of for analysis. And society describe as the organizations of human beings into forms that transact the individual persons, bringing them into relations with one another that processes some measures of coherence, stability. There are several elements which define our society or socials. The agency of the individual socialized into certain habits of thoughts, conducts, and actions, institutions, systems, or regularized patterns, then structures, institution, and individual often understood in the terms of unequal relations of power, status, of influence, which is transferring excess of social differences like your caste, ethnicity, gender, and but also the likes of aging, sexuality, and disability. There are few scholars before, few geographers before 1970s. They tended that there are regional characteristics, spatial distribution, particularly around notions such as your landscape, organization, and structures. Then Arley's geographer from 1960s, they defined they began to the enlarge greatly their substantive and conceptual senses of what the social entails. Then there are various authors, according to Jones in 1975 and Buttimer in 1968. There are several literatures which is under the title of social geography. They encompasses the term carries with it an inherent confusion, and it will always be a reflections of the time, the outlook, or the philosophy of the investigator. Though very popular, perhaps because of the brevity, when Ellis defines social geography as the analysis of social phenomena in the space, then your Ellis in 1974, he also describes social geography to a higher pedestal, whereby a social geographer must analyze the social pattern, the social processes arising from the distributions of and access to scarce resources and examinations of the societal cause of suggest solution to social and environmental problems. And the social structures means it relations in the analysis of the social problems. According to Asim, social geography must present an analysis based on interrelated materials, reality, and the social contradictions this produce, which are seen as the motive force for change and responsible for the development of the problem, like different label of living conditions. Society में क्या होता है? There are several type of society, and there are in the different type of level of society. There are different type of living conditions of the different people. So we can analyze their problems, their situations, what they are facing. So in a proper territorial, in a proper geographical area. Then social geography developed variously in different part of the world, and its concern have ranged from understanding the social characteristics of space at a different scale. Obviously, it can be varies from micro level and macro level, and it also being responsible for creating micro social geographies of marginalized social group. A marginalized social group means it includes the minorities group of the populations. There are different various ethnicity and gender-based intersectionally, not restricted to traditional gender binaries. And social geography refers to social leaps that are made in space and place, and that in turn shape and space and place where they exist. We believe that to address inequities and injustice that we around we see around us locally, regionally, nationally, then and transactionally. We must understand them. This cannot be done without considering who we are and where we are. We means inhabited and produce socially stratified geographies through social spatial practices and your relation. They go further and ask, can this be disrupted and redrawn to create better possible world? Then we need to ponder that how to situate social geography as a set of ideas and tools that may foster a better world around us. We may define social geography as a field that studies how social life means in all its diversities, differences, and hierarchies between and among the people, among the individuals, social groups हो गया आपका, then classes हो गया, then identities, gender, sexualities, disabilities, and different age group is constituted geographically at various scale. Though a spatial structure of social relation underlined by differential access to material conditions, your opportunities, power, and representation, and how space mediates the production and reproduction of key social devices and mechanism and struggle for social and spatial justice. It also examines the relationship between society and space. Okay, and then it focuses on how social processes, how its identities and inequalities inherent in human societies are shaped by geographic space, as well as how human behavior and their interactions are influenced by spatial context. By integrating social theory and spatial analysis, social geography seeks to understand how social structure and spatial configurations are interdependent, often with an emphasis on addressing social justice, then your social justice and equity. The above the definitions submerses most of the concern in social geography, its nature and scope through the passage of its development, particularly since the mid of 20th century. That we started with descriptive mapping of social phenomena, then socio-cultural regionalism grew to incorporate the analysis of social structural basis of deprivations, inequality, and processes of marginalizations of social groups like your genders and identities within the overreaching framework of neoliberal globalization. We shall then, therefore, need to take a look at the evolutions of the field of social geography and its varied perspectives and approaches. These are the some of the meaning and definitions of the social geography what I have discussed. Then now, the evolution of social geography, how it is evolved. Okay, you know that social geography is a sub branches of human geography. There are basically geography is divided into two types: human geography and physical geography. So, social geography comes under the human geography, which evolved experiencing changes in scope and emphasizes from being equated with human geography in France and landscape in Germany. The field has been churning upon the relationship between individual groups and society concerning space, environment, and the pattern and processes to adding immense value to the study of socio-economic inequalities and demands for social and spatial justice. The field has traveled long in relatively small time. The term social geography was introduced by French geographer Camille Vallioux in 1908 through his book Geographie sociale la mer, okay, as a synonyms of human geography. There are several geographers who have written about social geography, Heterodotus, Strabo, and other of the pre-challenging to environmental determinism, then by possibilism. The pre-classical scholar and explorers were the first to recognize the social differences, such as encyclopedia descriptions continue to appear intermittently to in the Occident up to the 17th century. For example, the account of Marco Polo and some Christian missionaries who tried to explore first how social life takes varied from in different parts of the world. Second, how these differences are caused by, or at least are associated with differences in physical, particularly climate environment. Friedrich Ratzel, which is famous for his book Anthropogeography, which is incorporated the elements, both the elements. First elements is that according to Fergie Ragel, the ecological view of society within its natural environment, which is written in her volume 1, 1882. And second element is that the role of human intelligence means human idea in enabling man to overcome physical barriers. Unfortunately, the latter perspective did not receive much needed attention and currency. Then, according to Lee Play in 1806, of France. However, he set a new trend in social geographical analysis with his monograph techniques. His techniques produce an encyclopedic inventory to social facts, which then served as basis for comparison. He adopted place workflow. ये वाला आपका आता है, it will come in UGC net, who is written the place work flow folk books. So Peter Gadgets written in 1915 as a place work and folk, and in the writing of British geographer H.J. Falliour in 1918. French geographers inherited important elements from Lippe monograph techniques in their empirical field studies during the 20th century. The study of mutual relationship between your society and uh, and the environment aroused great speculations and interest among geographers. Yet there was no discipline equipped to embrace the entire questions. Rajal had made an abortive attempt to do so, and his environmentalist disciplines extragated rather than corrected the deterministic premise of anthropogeography. There are several important dimensions of psychology. Some there are some various example why environment are similar, used in entirely different ways at different periods in history. So, according to Jean Brunches, he defines social geography as the third level of complexity in human geography, fourfold structures. What are the fourfold structures he described? He described number one, the primary group of family, kin, and culture is cultural geography. Second one is the secondary groupings of livelihood and spatial interests, which is economic geography. And third is your the various form of spatial interactions within and among this group is social geography. And the fourth one is finally the legal system which institutionalized societies, subdivisions, and access to land and property is political geography. So, according to Jean's branches, he described the human geography into fourfold structure: cultural geography, economic geography, then social geography, and political geography. Then social geography was seen as the identifications of different reason according to association of social phenomena as related to the total environment in 1950s. This phenomena were mainly population's characteristics. Gradually, the city and its people became the focus of attentions, and the old problem of man and the environment appeared again, but in a rather more stable form as the urban environment is itself man-made. It seems that it is impossible, however, to think of specific group of city dwellers apart from the environment in which they lived. The very poor and the socially deprived live in slums area. Then immigrants began urban life in the so-called zones of transition zones near the city centers. The middle class lived in the suburbs and so on. So there is focus on the patterns of the identifications received major inputs throughout the quantifications in the early 1960s. The philosophical discussion in social geography was rare, and the imperatives issued by the logical positivism were scarcely acknowledged. The next is your approaches to social geography. Approaches to social geography, there are several approaches according to positive, social positivist, then behavioralism, then humanistic, Marxist, and structural, feminist, postmodernist. There are several approaches. First approaches are is the ecological approach. Ecological approach means in social geography, it examines or it identifies the interrelationship between human society and their environment. Okay, that is means the ecological approaches. It examines the interrelationship between human society and the environment. It focusing on how social behavior and cultural practices are influenced by ecological factors and vice versa. Its early mornings could be traced in the writing of Radgel, Vidal de la Blache and Carl Saucer, and could be seen the developing further to include a variety of contemporary scholarship. This approach highlights the complexity of the interactions between people and their surrounding, emphasizing the importance of understanding how social groups adapt to and modified their environments. The ecological approaches is grounded in the principle of ecology, which studied the relationship between living organisms and their environment. In social geography, this involves analyzing how social structures, cultural practices, and environmental conditions interact to shape human behavior and social organization. The key concepts are human environment interactions and underlying the process of adaptations and change by the conditions of your human behavior and their organisms with their environment. These are things changed by employing a system approach. There are several scholars have significantly contributed to the development of the ecological approach in social geography, each offering unique insight and methodologies. Okay, the ecological approaches in social geography has significant implications for understanding the various social phenomena within the geographic context, such as sustainability and your resource management, urban designing, planning, and social justice and environmental equity. Future research in ecological social geography may be benefit from interdisciplinary approaches that integrate insight from political ecology, climate change studies, and indigenous ecological knowledge, exploring how historical and contemporary power relation influence environmental practices that can be provide a more nuanced understanding of human environment interaction. Okay, that is ecological approaches. Then second approaches is your the group approaches. Okay, can you understand the definition of what I have discussed, the definition of the social geography and how it is interact with the environment, how it is relationship with the environment, human, society, and environment. It is linkages. Have you understand? What is social geography and ecological approaches? ସମସ୍ତେ ଅଛନ୍ତି ନା କିଏ ନାହାନ୍ତି ଗ୍ରୁପ ରେ?
Acha, ma'am.
ଆଚ୍ଛା, okay. Okay, next one is the group approach. Give me just 30 seconds. I will back. Okay. The next one is your group approach. Group approach basically it understanding the spatial behavior, identities, and interactions, and according to Emery Jones and John Ellis in 1977, they are prominent figures in this area. Means it they providing significant contributions that have shaped contemporary social geography. The group approach is grounded in the belief that individual cannot be understood in isolation from the social group to which they belong. This group defined by factors like class, caste, ethnicity, gender, and the interest play a crucial role in shaping individual experiences and interactions with their environment and structuring of space. The key concept of a group approach are collective identity and its capacity to mobilize social processes in the utilizations and transformation and space based on their needs. Power dynamics, bringing it closer to social capital theory. The group approach in social geography, as articulated by Emery Jones and Jones Ellis, he provides crucial insights into the interplay between social group and their environment by focusing on collective identities, spatial practices, and social processes. Their work underscore the importance of understanding social dynamics in shaping geographical space. Their contributions not only enrich the theoretical landscape of social geography but also offer valuable implications for policy and practice in addressing social inequalities and fostering inclusive communities. This is your social group, the group approach. Then third one is your positivist approach. Positivist approach kono? The positivist tradition emerged as geographer sought to establish geography as a rigorous scientific discipline. This involved adopting methodologies that were common in the natural science, including your hypotheses, testing, data, quantifications, and the search of universal laws governing spatial pattern. And this approach in social geography is grounded in the principles of positivism, which prioritize empirical observations and scientific analysis. In the mid 20th century, alongside the quantitative revolutions in geography, this approach leveraged statistical techniques and spatial modeling to analyze social phenomena. It did impact geography in a great measure, leading to the development of spatial science and locational study. But this approach did not impact geographical methodology in significant way. According to Harvey's work, later embraced more critical theories, social justice, and the city initially employed positivist methodology to analyze urban spatial structures and planning. The positivist approach has significantly contributed to the standardizations of methods in geography, facilitating the integrations of geography information system like GIS and remote sensing. However, it has faced criticism for its perceived neglect of human agency and quantitative aspects of social life. Then fourth is your behavioral geography. Behavioral geography कौन? Behavioral geography A behavioral approach in social geography emphasizes the significance of individual actions, perceptions, and decision-making processes in space in shaping spatial patterns and social interaction. This perspective emerged as a response to earlier deterministic model that focused on structural explanations, prioritizing human agency and the subjective nature of human experience in geographical context. Behavioral approach is based on psychological theories and emphasizes on emphasizes understanding human behavior through the lens of subjective experiences. It seeks to explore how individual choices, attitude, perceptions influence interactions with the environment, leading to distinct social and spatial outcomes. At the heart of the behavioral approach is the focus on how individuals make decisions regarding space, such as where to live, where to work, and engage in social activities, understanding the decisions making processes, which helps to explain patterns of residential choice, mobility, and spatial interactions. The behavioral approaches emphasize the importance of conjunctive maps and individual perceptions of space, which can differ significantly from objective geographical realities. How individual perceives their environment influence their spatial behavior and interactions. Recognizing that behavior is often influenced by cultural and social factors, the behavioral approach examines how various social contexts shape individual actions and spatial decisions. The behavioral approach has significant implications for understanding various social phenomena within geographical context. For example, insight from the behavioral approach can inform urban planning and policy making by recognizing the importance of individual perceptions and experience in spacing urban environments. This can lead to design that promote social interaction, safety, accessibility, then your movement and place attachment and your understanding resident perceptions and behavior that can lead to more effective and equitable development initiative. Then your Marxist approach. What is Marxist approach? Marxist approach is to social geography. It examines the spatial dimension of economic processes and social inequalities. It arising in the early 1970s, the Marxist geography approach that developed as a critique of both traditional geography thought and the existing socio-economic system. It focuses on concepts such as class struggle, capitalism, spatial manifestations of economic inequalities. According to Harvey, it has been a monumental figure in Marxist geography, expanding upon Marxist ideas to explore the urban environment and social dimension. Marxist geography has greatly contributed to critical urban studies and the analysis of spatial injustice. Critics, however, have pointed to potential limitation in addressing non-economic factors affecting social relation and space. Next approach is your structural approach. Structural approach, which focuses on understanding the underlying structures that frame social interaction and spatial organization. The structural approach is influenced by various theoretical traditions, including structuralism, socialism theories, and Marxist thought. Structural approaches often place significant emphasis on social stratifications and the inequalities produced by economic and political systems. By examining how these inequalities manifest in spatial context, geographer can better understand issues such as segregation, access to resources, and social mobility. While the structural approach offered valuable insight into social geography, it has also faced critics. Critics argue that an overemphasis on structure can lead to deterministic interpretations of social behavior, downplaying the role of individual agency and the local context. As social geography continues to evolve, future research may benefit from intersecting the structural approach with emerging frameworks such as post-colonial theories, feminist geography, critical race theory. These integrations can foster a more comprehensive understanding of how various dimensions of identity and power intersect to space safe spatial outcomes. The next one is your feminist approach. This is very important approach, feminist approach. Feminist geography examines how gender shapes and is shaped by spatial arrangement, highlighting issues of powers and inequalities. It emerging the feminist approach emerging during the feminist movement of the 1970s and 1980s. This approach critiques traditional geographical studies for marginalizing women's experiences and perspectives. It emphasizes gender space, the role of identity, and intersectionality in geographical analysis. Feminist approach has a significantly broadened the scope of geographical inquiry to include gender and other identity markers as crucial factors in spatial analysis. By focusing on lived experiences, it highlights the pervasive influence of patriarchy in shaping shape. However, the critics argue that while feminist geography emphasizes gender, it must also integrate other social categories such as race, class, and sexuality to offer more comprehensive insight. It is important here to mention that geographers have begun to examine how person biological man and woman as also the gay, lesbian, queer, and transgender negotiate their identity and space in metropolitan towns and cities of India. The last one is your postmodern approaches. Postmodern approaches to social geography challenges traditional narratives and embraces complexity, diversities, and the fragmented natures of knowledge and places. Postmodernism emerged in the late 20th century as a reaction against modernist ideologies and the search for universal truth. In geography, postmodernism encourages as electric mix of perspectives, means emphasizing the local narratives and the subjective natures of the spatial experiences. Postmodern geography opened the discipline to a plurality of voice and interpretations, challenging established authority and promoting inclusivity in understanding space. Critics, however, contend that postmodernism relativism can lead to a fragmentation of knowledge, making it challenging to agree upon common principle or solution to spatial issues. This is your block one completed. Then next is your, unit one completed, evolution and approaches to social geography. Next one is your unit two. place, and relevance of social geography. Uh, there is branches of knowledge, then relationship with other branches of geography. It is important questions. Relationship with other branches of geography, then contributions of social geography to social theory. What is the power relationship with space? Then contemporary relevance of the social geography. Then what are the relationship of social geography with other branches of knowledge? Okay. You know that there are several branches according to Feynman's circumference of geography. He described there are one, two, three, four, five, six geography. One is geomorphology, another one is climatology, then biogeography, economic geography, and historical geography, social geography. He described geography as a six multidisciplinary. Then, according to there, in geomorphology, he subdivided into geology, then climatology, meteorology, then biology, biogeography, then economics, geography, economics, then historical geography, history, and social geography, sociology. The most comprehensive representations of social geography and its linkages, intellectuals and conceptuals morning is perhaps best represented in the diagram. It can be, you can see in your soft copy the figure number 1.2.3 human geography and the welfare matrix according to Smith in 1977. You can easily understand what is production and exchange, how it is related with the logistics, then economics, then population geography. It deals with the people and the demographics. Therefore, the political geography is deal with the political power and the political science. In social geography, it described with the sociology, psychology, then societal values which can further divide it into the goods, place, distribution, and consumptions. Sociology, the field of economics, the sociology, the study of the social behavior. Institutions, the relationship has a profound connections with the social geography. So there are various sociologists who investigate how individual and groups interact within various social contexts, often considering geographical factors. For instance, urban sociology delves into how city environments shape social interaction, community dynamics, and access to resources. Social anthropology, which study human society and culture, complements social geography by exploring how social practices are shaped by geographical setting. For example, the distribution of kinship network can vary significantly based on geographical factors, influencing social organizations and cultural practices. The field of economics intersects with social geography in understanding how spatial factors influence economic activities, resources, distributions, and inequalities. Therefore, economic geography analyze how economic processes are spatially organized and the impact of the geography on economic behavior. Environmental studies, which intersects with social geography by examining how human societies interact with their environment. Therefore, social geography helps analyze how spatial factors influence environmental issues such as the distributions of natural resources and the social implications of environmental policies. Moreover, understanding spatial inequalities is crucial for addressing social justice in environmental context. The next one is your relationship with other branches of geography. You know that social geography is a continuum or has a seamless relationship with other branches of geography, including various subfields or sub-branches of physical geography to understand the social phenomena holistically, which are partially associated with each other. Physical geography is essentially interconnected with social geography. The geographical factors are important in influencing social or cultural phenomena as both cause and effect. For example, social geography consider these physiographic factors for distinct cultural landscapes at varying scale, different manifestations like languages, food, dresses, house structure, and cultures are closely associated with human environment interactions. Social identities influence the political structures and are also shaped by it. Urban social geography has gradually developed into an important area of research. Themes such as gentrification, segregation, gender, crime, exclusion, displacement, urban slums, alcoholism, drugs, and other urban social problems like cultural enclaves and ethnicity insecurity, fortifications, and emergence of gated communities in the metropolitan cities have emerged as major urban social issues and are closely linked with concern in urban sociology and politics. The next one is your contributions of social geography to social theory. Social geography has contributed to social theory in the form of understanding of social phenomena concerning space and environment, as we have already discussed in Unit 1. The major contributions of geographer to social theories are from David Harvey, and Edward Souza. David M. Smith, Waifu Tuan, and several others. So David Harvey, his main focus on empiricism to humanism via Marxism. Edward Soja work focus on postmodernism and third space. Then Doreen Macy focus on space and society. Then David Smith focus on welfare and social justice. And Tuan, wife who Tuan, space and place. Social theories traditional did not pay attention to space and place. However, now the concept of space is being addressed by other discipline, human geographers, most notably spatial theorists like Henry Lefebvre emphasize that space is not just a physical area but it also socially constructed. According to Lefebvre, triad of spatial production includes your perceived space, means the physical measurable aspects of space. Second one is your concept space, means the representations and plan aspects of space, such as your, for example, maps, theories. The third one is your lived space, means the experimental and subjective dimension of space. Social geography highlights various kind of inequalities and deprivations, particularly of spatial natures or equality, equity, social justice, to be consumed by social theories dealing with these issues. According to Massey has extensively worked on the spatial division of labor. Social geography plays a crucial role in analyzing social inequalities and the concept of spatial justice. Scholars like David Smith, among others, have emphasized the importance of space in understanding social justice issues. For instance, spatial injustice can manifest in housing disparities, access to service, and uneven resources distributions based on geographical location. This understanding leads to the assertion that social justice must consider spatial aspects. Furthermore, feminist geography has highlighted how gender intersects with spatial inequalities. Then social geography lends partial insight to the process of globalizations and its social impacts across the globe based on the access to or exchange of ideas, goods and service, and more importantly, capital and labor. Social geography also contributes social theory by examining how spatially influence social identities. The concept of place-based identities highlights how cultural practices and meanings are rooted in specific geographical contexts. This concept is explored in works of geographers such as Wai-Fu Tuan, who discusses the emotional attachments people have to place and how these attachments contribute to their sense of self. Additionally, according to Edward Soja, notions of the third place expand on this idea by contending that social identities are formed through the interplay of physical space and social relations. The next is your power relation and space. Space is shaped and reshaped by power relation and associated with hierarchy of socioeconomic status, access, control, and utilization to resources. The group which has enjoyed the power shapes and maintains its objective physical and perceived space. Space is not merely the passive container acting as background, but it is an active agent that influences and shapes power, dynamics, and institution. Similarly, power is also not an outcome but plays an important role in configuring space. Power structures refers to the organizations of authority and influencing within a society, encompassing political, social, and economic dimensions. According to Foucault in 1980s, power is not merely held by a particular group or institution, but it is diffused throughout the societal networks. This decentralized perspective highlights how various entities, ranging from local governments to multinational corporations, contribute to shaping social norms and practice through these partial organizations. The theoretical framework for analyzing power structure in geography often draws on concept of scale. According to Burner in 2001, he emphasizes that power operates at multiple scales: regional, national, local, global context. For instance, urban area can be viewed as a microcosm of broader power dynamics where local governance, social movements, and economic activities interact. Space. Space is a fundamental element in social geography, as it is not only a physical locations but also a social construct that embodies relations of power. Theories such as Henry Lefebvre's notions of the protections of space, according to 1991, he argues that space is socially produced through the interactions between various social processes. According to Lefebvre's model of spatial practice and representational space, it highlights how power shapes and is shaped by spatial dimension. Urban space, for example, can reflect and reinforce power disparities. The development and gentrifications of neighborhood can lead to the displacement of lower income communities, thereby illustrating the intersections of power and space. According to Smith in 1966, he notes that the concept of uneven development addresses how capitalist forces create geographical disparities in wealth and resources. Next is your contemporary relevance of social geography. Contemporary relevance of social geography. Uh, Before we need to discuss the strength of social geography due to the natures and perspective of geography and its inherently interdisciplinary framework, social geography has successfully established fruitful communications and engagement with various fields within social science and humanities in particular. The strength it gets are its methodological tools and techniques in the form of quantitative and qualitative research tools along with geospatial tools. Geospatial tools and maps are ubiquitous and have become the visual language cutting across disciplinary boundaries and have strong applications in studying things and phenomena. A map is the language of geography which is used by people in everyday life today due to its availability of affordable gadgets loaded with common utilities and services like locations and navigation. Further, due to the arrival of smart maps and interactive maps, GIS not only stores the geographical features but it stores their relationship and rule-based topological properties. With now AIA-based capabilities, it enables the data analysis of various complex socio-spatial phenomena based on their properties for policy making. Due to its dynamic properties in combinations with above mentioned methodological tools and techniques, it tries to answer the questions of what, where, how, and why of things as they exist. It also tries to answer what if related to future projections based on the temporal observation using its geospatial tools and techniques. Your second unit finished. Now your third unit. Key concept in social geography. Key concept of social geography. In key concept of social geography, we have discussed scale, territory, territorial space, and social space, body, neighborhood, nations, diversity and its differences, disparities, inequality, power, space, and place. That's it in key concept of social geography. First, what is scale? Scale, territory, territorial space, and social space, the body, locally, neighborhood, and nation. Scale means it is a paramount in every geographical analysis. However, connotations of the term vary under different contexts. Broadly, there are three contexts where scale is referred to as in cartographic, operational, or as a social construct. Cartography, you know that in cartography scale, it is used to represent the spherical earth or a part of it in mathematical proportions on a two-dimensional surface, either digitally or on paper. It expresses the mathematical relationship between the map and the art using a RF. Then, then what is operational scale? That is simple cartographic scale. It is used to represent this peripheral art. Then second one is the what is operational scale. Operational scale is otherwise known as methodological scale, which is used to related to data collections. Means depending on the purposes of the research, the investigator select one or more than one label from the cascade of hierarchical labels which varies from the micro to macro level. Social geographer realized that social pattern and processes get manifested differently at different level of cascade. Depending on the research question at hand, they develop their research design at the corresponding scale. While some processes can be a multiple scale and analyzed at one level or scale of analyze, it would be require the researcher to address them at multiple scale. The next is your what is social scale. Social scale कौन? Cartographic scale ହେଇଗଲା. What is social scale? Social ରେ କୋଉଠି ଆମେ କେମିତି construct କରିପାରିବୁ? As a social, it construct or social productions means spatial scale are not fixed platform for social activity and processes which connect up or down to other hierarchical labels but are instead outcomes of the activities and processes to which they in turn contribute, though a spatially uneven and temporarily unfolding dynamics. The idea that social processes and space and hence scale mutually intersects, constitute and rebound upon one another in an inseparable chain of determination. This perspective of scale has attracted greater attention from human geographers in general and social geographer in particular over the last decade. That is your scale. The next is your territory. Territory ମାନେ କଣ? Territory ମାନେ ଜାଣିଛ ଯେମିତି କି territory ମାନେ ଗୋଟେ space that is continuous to be used or organized and managed by a social group, person, or organizations. Biologists use the term territory concerning the dominance of a species or a organism in the area. The most common uses of the term is in the political sense. where the territory is demarcated as a geographical space with defined boundaries or spatial organization of states. Next one is your territorial space. Territorial space con and social space. Territorial space territory has never been a term as primordial or a generic as they are in the canons of geographical terminology. The dominant uses has always been either political in the sense of necessarily involving the power to limit access certain places or regions or ethological in the sense of the dominance exercised over a space by a given species or an individual organism. Territory is only one type of spatiality way in which space is used rather than one of the monopolizing its employment. For this perspective, territoriality is the strategic use of territory to attain organizational goals. The intensity of interactions and familiarity is likely to vary according to the size of the territory. According to Lyman and Scott in 1967, he have introduced a fourfold classification of territory. First one is your body as a territory. Second is your interactional territory. Third is your home territory. And fourth is your public territory, which can be seen as a territory hierarchy. Personal space is portable space, which the individual carries with him or her wherever he or he goes. It may disappear under conditions of crowding, such as while traveling in a metro, public transports, and movie theaters. Interactional territory refers to any area where a social gathering may occur. The next level is home territory. What is that? This is the area where the regular participants have relative freedom of actions and a sense of intimacy and control over the area. It is close to neighborhood space and the notions of the community. Then third one is your public territory. Public territory is a relatively open in which the individual has freedom of access through not necessarily of action. Good Day in 1971 provides a different way of looking at the territorial hierarchy. He sees the individuals at the center of his personal space. This is the area a person known based his home, room, close friends, and relatives. Classroom to areas moves with some regularities. Then body. What is body? The human body as a social and biological phenomena has attracted the attentions of scholars from varied fields of social science and humanities. Geographers who have started dealing with the social and spatial conceptions of the human body. The development of the field is rooted in several academic circumstances that developed during the last century. One is related to the growth of consumerism, self-expressions, cultures during the late modern period, and the second is related to the theoretical interventions aimed at rectifying a former deficiencies, social theory, and third is the role of feminism in putting the body on the intellectual's map, the conceptions of the body as a personal space of body territory has already been introduced. Initially, there are two contrasting approaches propounded by Morsi Ponti and Michael Foucault respectively were adopted. One suggested that analysis of the body as lived, active and generative, and the other as the act of one, as historical inscribed from without. Before the feminist writing, flickering interest in the body could be traced in time geography or time space geography, humanistic geography, and Marxist geography. However, the real upsurge of interest in the body occurred in the 1990s through the contribution of feminist geographer, which can be summarized under the following three themes. What are the three themes? First one is your body as the geography closest in spatially of the body, including the generative spatial, specializing body, and the historical confinement of the body is abstract space, which is covered under this theme drawing or phenomenology according to the theory of production of space. Second, other bodies means taking off from the discourses of feminism, postmodernism, post-colonialism. The theme of other body economize the differences and power in embodiment. The body is designated as other based on cultures, as disabled, elderly, homosexuals, fat, female, color people, other national. Subordinate groups are defined by their bodies and according to norms that diminish and degrade them as ugly, impure, deviant, while privileged group by imprisoning the other in or his body take on the positions as disembodied subject. Third one is your dismantle dualism. Dismantle dualism means the philosophies on the body have inspired theories to dismantle dualism existing things long such as mind, your subject, your culture, your gender, your constructivism. Feminists have shown how such dualism have been strongly gendered, connecting the female body to nature's emotionally non-consciousness and irrationality. Subsequently, the dismantling of dualism has worked as a means to expose the instability and fluidity of body ascribed identities. Next one is your locally. The three term location, locality, and locally cannot different meanings. Locations refers to a specific point on the surface of the world which can be identified or represented by its coordinates on the map. Similarly, locality refers to a specific area. Okay, location refers to a specific point and locality refers to a specific area which can also be similarly identified or represented. However, locally encompasses a broader meaning and can be comprehended uh, concerning the events context or characteristics, while underlying locally, location and sense of place are the three aspects of place. According to Agnew, in 1987, he refers to locally as the structured microsociological content of place, the setting of everyday routine social interaction provided in a place. Accordingly, it could be a place, a locality, a setting, a site, or a scene. For example, living in a climatically cool place, the classroom of a school, scenes or setting of a drama or a movie area are localized in the different respective concept. Locally may range from a room in a house to the territorially demarcated area occupied by nation states. Then next one is your neighborhood. What is neighborhood? The term neighborhood refers to a residential area within the urban landscape. Although neighborhoods may vary both in terms of scale and population size, traditionally the term refers to an easily approachable small area. There are different sociologists and social geographers have defined and used the term in four different ways as below. First one is your typologist. What is typologist? The Chicago School approach of combining neighborhood with community. Scholars have attempted to classify each area into neighborhood types. Typology are defined based on race, ethnicity, language, religion, family status, class of the resident population, housing tenure, age, and characteristics of infrastructure. Neighborhoods are defined which enable the study of neighborhood changes over the time. Then second one is your neighborhood change. What is that? Change in the populations and infrastructures of neighborhoods are examined in this approach. Over the time, over the year, the neighborhood may experiences changes in the ethnic compositions, the household structures due to the mobility of the people. Similarly, the neighborhood physical infrastructures may change due to the aging or changes in the investment pattern. Third one is your neighborhood effects. Neighborhood effects. There are different scholars who approaches consider that the social and physical conditions of neighborhood shape individual attitudes, experiences, and healthy. Some scholars evaluates the effects of the neighborhood on an individual life chances pressing upon the economic structure of the society rather than the local cultural factor. For example, due to the segregations, the poor may have less access to resources. Fourth one is your neighborhood as a territory for political actions. In this approach, neighborhoods are conceptualized as produced by daily life practices, particularly social and political claims, which are dynamic over time and space. A neighborhood is identified as a social community or historical district involving the people and issues at stake. The next one is your what is nation? What is nations? Although nation, state, both are used Then next one is your nation. One second. Next one is your nation. What do you mean by nation? Nations means while the term country refers to a geographical territory with defined boundaries, and state refers to a political entity with a specific administrative mechanism. It defined the rules, regulations, so which is applicable to all of its parts and all people, irrespective of their ethnicity. The term nation has so much emotive force in it that it defeats any attempt to make a scientific definition. Suppose, for example, in some cases, certain circumstances, like a movement against colonialism, as in the case of India and South Africa, or the fight of the Borgias and the monarchy for a unified market and state, or the unify the people around imperialism, in case of Europe, may result in building nationalism and consequently the nations. Therefore, it be suggested that the questions of formations or lack of the formation of a nations can be answered by making a study of the concrete historical development, that is the study of economic, political, and ideological development of people. The historical development gives a collective identity from which emerges the national identity of a populations based on their shared language, history, ethnicity, culture, territory, or society to form a large type of social organizations called nations. Then, what is diversity? Diversity is a fundamental to the Earth's natural environment, which is manifested in all its elements such as physical landscape, climate, zone, ecosystem, living creatures. Diversity is played perceptible role in shaping the life and living of human as well as other creatures on the earth. The economic aspects of geography diversities are substantial. Various reasons possesses natural resources which may be include mineral, energy source, agriculture, land, or fresh water. The presence or absence of these resources can lead to the economic disparities and trade between regions. For instance, oil-rich Middle Eastern countries have a different economic base from countries with abundant agricultural land like the US. Human activities, however, are affecting geographic diversity and biodiversity. Climate change, deforestation, pollutions, and habitat destructions are causing shift the ecosystems and can lead to the loss of species. Understanding the importance of geography diversity and the preservation of ecosystem is crucial for addressing these challenges. Then what is differences? The differences means it is the core of every geographical analysis as a scientific field of investigations following the works of the founding father Humboldt and Carl Peters, and subsequently by the founders of the modern geography like Radgels, Blashy, Hetners, and finally Hartstone. Differentiations of elements across these spatial segments of Earth emerged as one of the major purposes of the discipline. Hartshorne asserted that geography is a discipline that seeks to describe and interpret the variable character of the Earth's surface and the world of man. The physical geographer highlights the spatial differences in natural elements of the earth to understand their implications on human actions, human activities, and life and living. Human geographers try similarly to address the spatial differences in human actions and activities and life and living. There is no scope to raise moral questions concerning about the spatial differences in the physical elements. According to David Harvey in 1996, he argues that space and time work to individual and identify people, though the predictions of differences across multiple axes. This means the geographic diversity may causes differences among the people and the society concerning the political, cultural, ecological, and economic resources. The ultimate concern of the social geography is to value the diversities and mitigate the differentiations. Then, what is disparity and inequality? Um, Maybe it will be important questions that will be come in your exam point of view. Disparities means the absence of party or equality is disparities. Social scientists refers to unfairly unequal social or economic condition as disparity. For example, literacy disparity between male and female segment of the populations or among the social group between regions, then gender disparities in employment or wage, health and income disparities between the rich and the poor criteria. Disparity can be measured quantitatively using various disparity indices. Geographers in general and social geographers in particular try to assess disparity in different concepts, highlighting the spatial dimension using the disparity index propounded by Sofer. Then, what is inequality? Inequality, it refers to the difference between groups or regions in terms of certain attributes. Social geographers generally examine spatial differences of a set of attributes among social groups. As mentioned earlier, spatial differences do not raise moral question. For example, we do not raise any moral questions in relation to the uneven distributions of natural resources. But viewed through the moral lens, spatial difference in human element express inequality in the human society. For example, differences in the level of educations and literacy, health status between region or social groups are ramifications of inequality. The attention of social geographers toward the social inequality as was drawn specifically with the adoption of the welfare approach in the 1970s by Smith. Initially, welfare geographers paid greater importance to spatial differences in living standards. Later departures focused on the spatially uneven distributions of source of need satisfactions. In either case, emphasis on spatial pattern ignored the structural basis of inequalities. Then examinations in either cases, it emphasizes on spatial pattern, ignore the structural basis of inequalities, examination of inequalities along class, gender, ethnic structure reveals how all forms of identity and distinction, including those shaped by space in different contexts, produce situation in which individuals suffer the consequences of inequality. Then next one is your power and space. Place. Power, space, and place. What is that? The concept of power, space, and place are highly important in geography in general and social geography in particular. The three concepts are mostly integrated to understand how human interactions and social structures shape and are shaped by geographic context. Geographers make use of this concept to study the human and physical landscape, their meanings, and the dynamics that shape them. Although these three concepts are integrated and are best deal with together, first one is your power. Power. What is power? Power refers to the ability of an individual and organizations or institutions to affect the actions or attitudes of author. Many times power is wrongly conceived in negative terms. Rather, power is exercised everywhere and every time in conversations, in delivering a lectures, in playing a game, and so on. More important that the fact that power is exercised is how power is concepted and deployed. In that regard, power in social geography is comprehended as the capacity of individuals, groups, or institutions to influence or control space and place. This concept is intertwined with socio-political and economic structures that determine the distribution of resources, access to and control of resources, development of rural and urban landscape, migrations of people, and even environmental policies. Power relation can manifest through various forms such as colonialism, urban planning, gentrifications, and territoriality. The influence of colonial power and on the spatial organizations of territory, gentrifications in urban area or the control of land and resources by multinational corporation can be cited as examples of power. Power can be visible, for example, government policies, military presence, or invisible, for example, cultural norms, economic inequalities. Power dynamic often reflect and reinforce social inequalities based on class, race, gender, and other social factors. Second one is your space. The concept of space as the container of things has always remained fundamental to geography. Social geographers, however, view the concept slightly differently as the attribute of things. It is not viewed merely by its physical dimension, but as a social construct whose dimension is defined though human interactions, relations, practices, and perceptions. Social geographers view space as a site of power, struggles, and contestations where different groups assert their identities, rights, and claims. They examine how space is organized, produced, and contested, highlighting the relationship between social processes and spatial arrangements. This gives rise to the concept of spatiality, which refers to how space is organized and experienced in everyday life. The next is your place. What is place? Place in social geography, as in all geography, refers to specific location. The distinction is that in social geography, these locations are identified by their distinct social, cultural, and emotional meanings attached to them. They are specific location attached to human experience and social relation. Unlike space, which is more abstract, place is personal and culturally specific, tied to human experience, their memories, meanings. Place are sites where personal and collective identities are constructed and negotiated. The study of place in social geography focuses on how places are created, perceived, contested, and transformed over time. Place is studied in the terms of the emotional and cultural connections people form with specific location, which can affect identity, belongings, and memory. It involves an understanding of how places are created, experienced, and perceived. A home, a city park, a scared site, or a neighborhood can be cited as example of places as all have particular meanings to the peoples who experience them. ଏଇଟା ତମର ୟୁନିଟ୍ 3 completed. ବ୍ଲକ୍ 1 ର ୟୁନିଟ୍ 3 completed. Then next ୟୁନିଟ୍ ହେଲା ତମର ଲାଷ୍ଟ ବ୍ଲକ୍ 1 ର ଲାଷ୍ଟ ୟୁନିଟ୍ ହେଲା method in methods in social geography, fourth वाला. Methods in social geography रे ଆମେ ପଢିବୁ we discuss about the quantitative and qualitative data, different sources of quantitative secondary data, quantitative method in social geography, then measure of central tendency, Lorentz curve, then index of disparity, inequality, and disability, qualitative method in social geography, then focus group discussions, then observation, composite index. ଆଧରେ ବହୁତ ଗୋଟେ ମାନେ କ୍ୱାଲିଟେଟିଭ ଡେଟା ଗୁଡା ସବୁ ଅଛି ଯେମିତି କି ତମର ranking methods, composite index, coefficient, then disparity index, inequality index, Lorentz curve, how to constructions of Lorentz curve. There are some statistical quantitative data you have to use in this social geography, then qualitative data କେମିତି ଆମେ methods how to use this qualitative methods in social geography by the observations and ethnography, interviews, questionnaire, then focus group discussions, what is social impact assessment, କଣ methodology and what are the methodology of social impact assessment. ଏଇଟା ତମର ୟୁନିଟ୍ 4 ରେ ଅଛି. I will discuss your unit 4 on Monday. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
ପ୍ରିୟା ଦିଦି ଅଛ? ହଁ,
Again.
ମୁଁ ମଣ୍ଡେ ଦିନ 2ଟା ବେଳେ କ୍ଲାସ୍ ନେବି, 2ଟାରୁ 4ଟା.
Again, ma'am.
ହଁ, due to some commitments, so I will take your class at 2 p.m.
Okay,
2ଟା
ma'am.
ବେଳେ
Again.
same link, ଯୋଉ link ଟା
Again.
ଅଛି same link, it will be used, same link.
ଆଜ୍ଞା ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ଠିକ୍ ଅଛି।
ହେଲା ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ବ୍ଲକ୍ ହେଇପାରିଥାନ୍ତା ମେଥଡ୍ ଇନ୍ ସୋସିଆଲ ଜୋଗ୍ରାଫି ବଟ୍ 10 ମିନିଟ୍ ଭିତରେ କଣଟା ପଢେଇବି ମେଥଡ୍ସ ଇନ୍ ସୋସିଆଲ ଜୋଗ୍ରାଫି फिर भी ଟିକେ ଷ୍ଟାର୍ଟ କରିଦଉଛି we have a 10 minutes so I will just introduce what are the methods and Lorentz curve ମୁଁ ଟିକେ ଖାଲି ପଢେଇ ଦଉଛି ହେଲା ତ what are the nature and source କଣ nature କଣ source କଣ quantitative and qualitative data ର କଣ nature and scopes ଆଉ what social geographer also use different kind of secondary data for their studies. Suppose we have writing ଏବେ ତମର dissertation project work ଅଛି ନା you have to write your project. So there are two sources to conduct a writing your evaluate or writing just report. You have to use your secondary data for your study or a primary source. Primary source means qualitative data such as your interview based on the questions NEA. Okay. Secondary data are collected and prepared by the organizations means just such as your secondary sources, newspaper, journal, articles, books, monographs, that is your secondary data, and primary source means your based on the field visit, survey, interview, questionnaires, that is your primary based data. Unlike quantitative data, it is a qualitative data. Quantitative data means you have to use tables, graphs, such as your mathematical calculations, Lorentz curve, correlations, coefficients. That is scientific method we can use in quantitative data. The first is your different source of quantitative secondary data. What is quantitative secondary data? Means your suppose the census provide a rich database at regular interval in the country. The Census of India provides data under the following different series or table on various socio-economic and demographic aspects, such as series table just for a general populations table, then economic table, then social and cultural table, migration table. If you can see the census, our census report, then you can find that are several indexes. They are based on A, B, C, D, E, F. There are different series table, migration table, fertility table, household table, then tables on household amenities and asset, SC, ST populations, then data on disability, health survey report you can find in there. The NSSO, what do you mean by NSSO? That is the National Sample Survey Organization. It has been known for providing important socio-economic data. It regularly conducts sample survey on consumption, expenditure, employment, housing, sample registration system. It provides vital data like fertility and mortality. The All India Educational Survey and Unified District Information Education, it provides school data for accessing the country's education and development. The National Family Health Survey NFHS is known for providing data on aspects of health in the country. The National Crime Record Bureau provide data on crime in India. Some private agencies and institutions also offer rich secondary data in the country, like the Institute of Human Development, which conducts a regular survey on different socioeconomic aspects in India. The Center for Monitoring Indian Economy also provide data on various economic aspects. Therefore, it is a different source of quantitative secondary data. Then, what is quantitative methods in social geography? So, there are quantitative method analyzing numerical data. Suppose the statistical Suppose the statistical method for analyzing quantitative data for broadly grouped into descriptive and inferential statistics, means understanding the nature of quantitative data is essential for statistical analysis. Data are generally categorized into nominal, like name of state, ordinal, categorical, ratio, interval, the nature label, depending on the nature label, quantitative of data, and purpose of operation. Statistical method can vary from very basic descriptive statistics to more advanced statistical analyzing using computer-based software packages like SPSS, Stata. In the following session, we will first discuss about the distributions of the quantitative data. Distribution of data first in quantitative data. We can first point is your the measure of central tendency. You know that in measure of central tendency we find out the mean, median, and value suggesting where the distribution is located. Second one is your measure of dispersion, finding the degree of spread. Then third one is your the shape of the distribution. Measure of central tendency means the arithmetic mean is the standard measure of central tendency, which is an average of the observation in the database. In case the data distribution is asymmetric and contains outlying post, median values are preferred over the mean. The median value is the point that divides the distribution in equal halves. Mode represent the point with the most frequent occurrence, since we have already learned this method before earlier. Okay. Then measure of variability. What is that measure of variability? We can analyze the spread data in the distribution range, quartile deviations, mean deviation, standard deviation. What is the range? Range is always that is the difference between a data set of the highest data value and the lowest data value is called range. It is the most straightforward measure of variation or spread in the distribution. What is quartile deviations? Like the median value, the data set distribution can be divided into four equal parts or three quartiles. The range between the lower and upper quartiles is called the quartile deviations. Then what is mean deviations? Mean deviations refers to the average difference between the observed value from the center value, that is mean, median or mode, depending on the distributions of the data set. It can be calculated from the continuous, discrete and individual data set. Standard deviations count. Standard deviation is widely used statistical measure. It captures the degree of dispersions of observations relative to the mean value in a data set. A low standard deviation suggests a relative low dispersions of the observation from the mean and the vice versa. Then next one is your concentration of distribution. Concentration of distribution or location quotient achi and the index of concentration achi. Location of quotient for tribal people in Jharkhand according to the 2011 census. District दे देछि झारखंड रो, then ST population दिया है, then total population दिया है. You have to find out the LQ, location quotient, and IC, index of concentration. Next class रे Lorentz curve टा पढ़ेबी. एबे जाई एतिकी थाओ.
आगे मैम
नेक्स्ट क्लास रे लॉरेंज कर्व आउ ब्लॉक 2 रे तमरो अछि सही चारटा यूनिट अछि. ब्लॉक 2 रे अछि social basis of identity, unit 5, then unit 6 class and inequality, then unit 7 is your language and reason, unit 8 is religion, space and marginality. Okay, unit 5, 6, 7, 8 and unit 4 method in social geography Lorentz curve ଆଉ କିଛିଟା ଅଛି quantitative and qualitative in social geography. Okay.
आगे मैम
Monday ଦିନ ଦିଟାରୁ please December, are you there? December,
Yes, ma'am.
ଆପଣ ଅଛନ୍ତି ଶୁଣୁଥିଲେ ମୁଁ ଯାହା କହୁଥିଲି?
ଆଜ୍ଞା ଆଜ୍ଞା ଆଜ୍ଞା
ମଣ୍ଡେ ଦିନ ଦିଟାରେ କ୍ଲାସ ନେବି, ଦିଟାରୁ ଚାରିଟା.
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ଆପଣ କଣ ଜବ୍ କରୁଛନ୍ତି କି?
ହଁ ମ୍ୟାଡାମ, ଆମର MMJM ଯୋଉ ଗଭର୍ଣ୍ଣମେଣ୍ଟ ର SST ଡିପାର୍ଟମେଣ୍ଟ ରେ ଚାଲିଛି, ସେଇ ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟରେ କାମ.
ମାନେ ଭୁବନେଶ୍ୱରରେ ହିଁ ଆପଣ ଅଛନ୍ତି?
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ତାହେଲେ କିଛି ଅସୁବିଧା ହବନି, ଦିଟାରେ ଆପଣ ଲଗ ଇନ୍ କରିଦେବେ, ଆଟଲିଷ୍ଟ ଶୁଣିପାରିବେ ଯାହା ଯାହା ମୁଁ କହିବି.
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ଠିକ ଅଛି, ତ ସେଦିନ ଦିଟା ବେଳେ ଆପଣ ଆସିବେ. ହଁ,
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ଦିଟା ବେଳେ ଜଏନ୍ କରିଦେବେ. ହଉ,
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ଠିକ ଅଛି ଦେବି, ରଖୁଛି. ନେକ୍ସଟ
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ମଣ୍ଡେ ଦିନ, କାଲି ପଢୁନ ନାହିଁ. ଯାହା ସେ ପଢେଇଲେ ତାକୁ ଟିକେ ଯୋଉ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ଆନ୍ସର ଅଛି ଟିକେ ତମର ସଫ୍ଟ କପିରେ ଦିଆ ହେଇଛି ୟୁନିଟ ପଛରେ, ତାକୁ ଟିକେ ପଢି ଦିଅନ୍ତୁ.
ଆଜ୍ଞା
आगे
ସେଇ
मैम
କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ଗୁଡା ହିଁ ଆସେ, ସେଇ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ଗୁଡା ହିଁ ଆସେ, ଯୋଉଟା
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ବହିରେ ଅଛି ସେଇ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ଗୁଡା ଆସେ, ତାକୁ ଟିକେ ପଢି ଦିଅନ୍ତୁ ଆପଣ.
ଆଜ୍ଞା
आगे मैम
ଠିକ ଅଛି, ହଉ, ଠିକ
आगे
ଅଛି, ରଖୁଛି। ହଁ,
आगे
ଆଜ୍ଞା
मैम
ଥ୍ୟାଙ୍କ ୟୁ।
नमस्कार